Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of Heavy Thoughts. I'm Jennifer Davis.
And I'm Peter Pinto.
And this is FitLife Fusion here in Las Vegas. And today I thought it would be a good time to talk about how to set personal goals and what that looks like. We've talked about it a little bit before, about how to stay motivated, the importance of having a goal, but I don't think that's enough. A lot of the conversations here at the gym have been about how to accomplish your goals. And there was like a common thread that I realized that's missing. And I was watching a video. There's a company out of Australia called The Next Level. And they like to motivate businesses and they work one-on-one with people. But they talked about the importance of time, energy, and focus. And I thought that was something that we could talk about. How much time do we put towards a goal? How much focus do we put towards the goal and what that looks like?
Right. I mean, when Jen came and showed me the video and we started talking about it, it just spread a conversation that was about focus. It was about how to actually set your mind to do something and, not just a bunch of positive thinky stuff, but some actual tactics and some strategies that people can use, or even some examples that you can use on a daily basis that can, bring you to a point where in your own mind, you're taking into consideration the excuses that you may have that maybe you didn't realize were excuses, or the stories that you've been telling yourself that, you've always kind of almost hypnotized yourself by day after day to think, well, I can't do that, or, I'm not the kind of person who does X, Y, or Z. So Jen and I figured, hey, let's make another mindset video and talk just a little bit more about some of the things that have just been more prevalent recently here in the gym, and maybe it could help you out a bit.
Hope so, anyway. So
where shall we start, Jen?
Change.
Okay.
Change. For my personal experience, whenever I was like, okay, I'm gonna be healthy, or I'm gonna exercise more, or whatever the goal was for me, I never changed. And then I was, so disappointed when nothing got accomplished. And I notice a lot of people will come in and they'll walk in, and that first day when they have their consult, they're like, I'm a number 9 from 1 to 10. I'm committed to this goal, and that's awesome. But the other side of that is, how committed are you to actually changing who you are? And it's actually a change for good. I know if someone would have said that to me, that I needed to change who I was, that would have been frightening and intimidating. But you start off small, and if you're someone who's not very active, adopting the mindset of walking maybe 2 days a week, or lifting weights 2 days a week. Start off small.
Yeah.
But change is necessary.
I mean, otherwise people wouldn't be watching this video, or people would not be coming into the gym if they didn't feel that something, whether it's themselves or something about their lives, need to be changed.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the problem that people are seeking help for, whatever it might be. But really, whether it's getting in shape, or earning more money, or changing your diet, whatever it is, the processes are all pretty much the same, and you still have to take a certain perspective on the steps that need to be taken in order to start moving toward your goals.
Yeah. So I know, I don't know if you feel this way, but when you think of something that you're trying to work on and you're having a hard time accomplishing it, would you say it's because maybe you have a closed mindset about change? You're like, I don't like change. I don't like too much things to change at once, or the fear. I think fear is a huge factor.
Just let's recap just for a second of what fear is, or what worry is, or all these emotions that get in the way of you actually making the changes you want to make. The first thing that we talk about, and we talked about it in the last video, is our nervous system is hardwired for, or against change, right? It's hardwired to stay, it's homeostasis. We are not supposed to change easily, okay? One of the things that we talk about all the time is this concept of taking the path of least resistance. So whatever it is that you do on a daily basis, the things that you're used to, that you've done for years probably, your body wants you to keep doing those things because it understands how much energy needs to be expended in order to get it all done. You know where you need to go. Not everything is predictable, right? Mm-hmm. And when you start to change things, your brain right away is saying, well, this is a little bit more work than usual. And not only that, I don't know what's going to happen if,
what's on the other side of that.
If I want to start going down to the gym 3 or 4 days a week, while I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to set that into my schedule, my brain is going, Peter, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, we got to think. We do this thing where we just go home, we sit on the couch, we eat a little something, we rewatch Game of Thrones, and then we go to bed, right? And what people don't realize is because you are now saying, well, I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week, 4 days a week, you have to think through the schedule, what that's going to do to the rest of your day, what that's going to do to how you're going to eat, how you are interacting with the other people in your lives. And when all of a sudden something goes wrong, like, I'm going to be late to this appointment, or I'm going to be late to that, or I'm not going to get the sleep that I feel I really need, that's when people are like, that threw a wrench in it, and this is too difficult, and now I'm a failure.
Right.
And then the label creates even more stress and shame and guilt, and it's easier to quit.
And it's easier to quit, and that's something that, I would like to help people through, when that wrench gets thrown in there.
So what do you suggest?
The first thing that's popping in my brain is, again, mindset. Are you a closed-minded person, or are you an open-minded person? An open-minded person, when they get faced with like a wrench that's going to be thrown in their gears, a term that I've come to appreciate now, it's you step into that challenge. And before that wrench gets thrown into whatever, kind of expect that that's already going to happen. For instance, you go to the gym, you sign up, and you say, I'm going to train 3 to 4 days a week. Just know or expect that work is probably going to change your schedule, even if it doesn't. Plan for it. Plan for, okay, you know what, my kids are probably going to need me 1 to 2 days out of that week, and how am I going to, shift and turn things around to where I can still accomplish my goal? Because what I'm seeing, and I have done it too, we all do it, is when something happens, we stop, and then we just don't go to the gym. So plan to keep going to the gym. Stay focused, but know that there's going to be a challenge that's going to pop up, and already plan for it. And I think I know I've been doing that lately, and it's been helping.
Yeah. Recently, I've been trying to get more into meditation and, the morning priming or visualization. And I was listening to a podcast of Tim Ferriss, which if you haven't been listening to Tim Ferriss podcasts, just about everybody knows who he is. But he's the author of the 4-Hour Body, the 4-Hour Work Week, and he interviews people, and all the podcasts are about trying to find the ways of the most effective people and successful people in the world. So one of the things that he talks about when it came to when he was learning how to try to get into meditation and visualization is he hired a coach, I believe. And at some point he said, he would start off by listening to, guided meditations and what have you. And there were days where he would be there and his mind would travel, even though he was trying to meditate effectively, right? Think of your day. Think of, whether it would be, feelings of gratitude or visualizing yourself completing the tasks that you want to complete. And he was explaining to his teacher how, I sat there for 15 minutes and my mind just wandered and I couldn't collect myself and I couldn't get there. And the teacher said, but you did exactly what you were supposed to.
You still
and that down. Is to come back to it every day. Mm. And if that's the goal, at least to come back to it. Mm-hmm. So even if you're getting to the gym 3 days a week and you have one really crappy workout here and there, you should actually celebrate in the fact that you're making it back into the gym. Even if you get to the gym, whether it's in with a trainer or you're going to a 24-hour fitness or an anytime fitness, you're still getting there. And even if the workout lasts 20 minutes, you got your rep in of doing that, of getting to the gym, of doing something other than what you're used to in your daily schedule, which is going to push you more toward making the change you want to make.
Yeah. Yeah, and it keeps you growing. And I think if we lock ourselves down in this mindset where we have to be perfect or what we're doing has to be perfect all the time, it's not fun anymore, and we lose our joy. So, and that's something that I want for all of our clients and anybody who's watching our videos is when you're getting healthy and you're working out and you're changing old habits that maybe were destructive and now you're adopting a more positive lifestyle. I want it to be fun for you guys, and I want it to be exciting, and I want it to be challenging in a way that you actually feel like you're growing as a person. And Peter mentioned something about the guy that he listened to, that he went and got a coach. Of course, Peter and I as your trainers, we would be your coach. But if there's even someone in the gym that you admire or you notice that, hey, you're really good at those back squats, talk to them, get feedback. When we're open-minded, we're humble enough to ask for help and learn different techniques. Don't put it all on yourself to figure out a meal plan, figure out a schedule, all these changes at once. If we were able to do that, I guess there wouldn't even be gyms or trainers or, there wouldn't be coaches.
Yeah.
So
just rooms with equipment in it.
Yeah. So, but that's, the theme that I really want to push across is, branch out and don't expect perfection. Don't put all this pressure on yourself. And it's okay to change,
Something that came up recently with a member here in the gym, I think it was just a few days ago, we were discussing how a person she would like to try to help or has been trying to help for a long time to help them make positive changes for themselves, it just hasn't been happening. And year after year, it just seems like she takes it upon herself that she's failing as a friend, and she's watching her friend just not doing as well as she knows she could do if she would take the advice. And it reminded me of just a saying that I had heard that people become successful because of good judgment.
Oh, yeah,
right? So success is a result of good judgment. But good judgment is a result of experience. And experience is a result of bad judgment. So it doesn't matter what path you're on to make whatever change it is that you're trying to make. The point is you have to go into it knowing that you're going to make mistakes. And a friend of ours, Zachariah, calls those mistakes data points, and I thought that was really cool.
That was really good, yeah.
Yeah, it's a data point. It's a point from which you're going to gather information so that you can move on and make smarter moves. Right?
Yeah, you stop. You're like, okay, I didn't go to the gym as much as I wanted to this week. So what did I learn from it? Did I not plan well? Did I succumb to peer pressure and went to the bar instead, or whatever? That was my takeaway. I love that. What did you learn from it?
Yeah, and just calling it a data point, I thought was really smart.
Takes the pressure off.
Zachariah he's a master trainer within the Z Health organization. Really, really smart guy. Somebody I turn to whenever I'm having any trouble, whether it be with clients or even just trying to develop programs. So that's where that info came from. And like I said, I just thought it was really smart in a way that makes mistakes sound a whole lot less threatening and a whole lot less something to feel ashamed of.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is, when you're taking on a personal goal, it takes time. Think about like athletes, and not everyone, may not want to become an athlete in their life, but look at their drive and look at their focus. And think about how many times that they've made, or they have data points.
How many data points?
Yeah. And how many times that they have to fix and tweak and maneuver, And I like that. And something that I want within my classes, I want that focus. And that's something personally that I am taking on because I feel like if I'm doing it, maybe I'll, rub off on our clients. But to have sharp focus on my goals. Now, I already know that there's going to be times where I might not accomplish, my goal for that week, but that's okay. The point is I'm going to take that information and then the next week I'll do better. And I'm hoping that an example of focus that's going to rub off with you guys, and then it'll just trickle down, to our new members, and see what happens from there. But having a target, saying, like when you say, okay, I want to be healthy, that's not specific enough. Saying I want to lose 5% body fat. What does that look like? Measure it, put a time frame on it. For me personally, I'm going to do like 5 to 6 months to try to lose 5% body fat. That even gives me a little room for error, if things happen. But every day I'm going to take a mental check note of, okay, what can I do today that's going to help me accomplish my goal? And I tend to be someone who focuses on, I like that fast gratification, and that really hasn't gotten me anywhere. If anything, that type of mindset has hurt me. And really focusing on the long-term goal and what that looks like.
We're built for the fast gratification. It's part of our survival mechanisms, right? Because that quick satisfaction is something there. It's tangible and it's something we can see because it's within reach. What people don't spend enough time is trying to see the long-term results. You really have to know what your outcome is. And like Jen said, if you want to be able to see your abs, you kind of have to be able to see the process and the end result of what that's going to all look like.
Yeah.
People don't realize what the eating habits and the workout regime is of like fitness models. They live in the gym.
Yeah.
They live in the gym and they practically eat nothing half of the time. And that's the majority of them. There are actually some great fitness models that Jen and I know personally who eat a ton, work out right, and not a lot, and still actually have great physiques. So I don't want to put a stamp on all of them and generalize it, but what I am saying is that you really have to, I'll put it to you this way. A great saying that I always think of in my head when I'm trying to plan is, when you start the day, when you've already completed it, right? When you start your week, when you've already completed it, right? When do you start your month? When you've already completed it. In your mind, when you've already figured it all out and you've planned for it, then you can start to move forward and do the things that you've already envisioned doing. And then it's not such a threatening thing to your nervous system. Remember, the most threatening thing to your nervous system is the unexpected. So again, you want to make change, and then you start making that change, and all of these unexpected things start popping up. Those are the things that will throw you for a loop, and everything about your biology is going to be telling you, go back to doing the couch thing.
Sitting on the couch.
Yeah, the couch. We were good at the couch thing.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good
But you don't
point.
want to do the couch thing anymore.
Getting back to the topic about being open-minded, it's recommended that we maybe go to someone that we find, motivation or inspiration from.
Mm-hmm. Not necessarily a coach, maybe somebody that,
Another member.
Who's already succeeding.
Yeah, and something that you want to accomplish. And maybe getting feedback from them. Hey, you watch me, you've seen me train, you've seen me, the way I eat. Is there something that you think I can improve on? And being open for criticism, it helps, it saves time, because then you're not going to be doing the same thing that's not working for you time and time again. It'll stop that, and then you can readjust and restructure. Also, just getting that connection with someone here at the gym or with another friend or workmate, when you start to build a community around yourself, that's going to help you accomplish your goal, help you stay focused.
Yeah. People have always said in business coaching, there are books about it, Grant Cardone's 10X. There's so many of them. Even talking about Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. They're always talking about surrounding yourself with the people who are, already succeeding in the things that you want to be doing. Whether it's somebody who's making money, Grant Cardone in his 10X book, find people who make 10 times more money than you do, right? And then be around them and pick their brain. And, whenever I envision that, I always think of myself like in the room, like, hey, I don't know if I really belong here. But I think that's the same when it comes to money. I've always felt that way, right? I want to try to be as successful as possible. I'm running a business. I want to help as many people as I possibly can. But there are times where I feel to myself, well, I'm not there yet. I have to almost prove myself in order to, in my mind,
I do that too.
Surround myself with people like that, right? And I think people do the same thing in the gym. They get in there and they're like, well, I'm a chubby.
Right.
And, there's all these fit people that I want to, talk to or maybe pick their brain a little bit. And instead, they become intimidated by that because they don't feel worthy of being in the same gym.
Right.
And it really shouldn't be that way. I mean, I know that there are meatheads in the gym, but I think that especially in here, the people who do really well, excel, change their bodies, change their habits, they're waiting for somebody to come up and say, hey, can you help me? Hell yeah, I'll help you. They'll be right there for you.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So moving on. What's the next question or topic of discussion, Jen?
Just, one of the things I wrote down, having more of an open mindset versus a fixed mindset. One of the points was it allows you to improve yourself. You're going to have more of, you'll have a higher self-esteem. When you reach out and you get help and you're excited about this new challenge, you're not going to be so so hard on yourself. It will improve your relationships because when we start progressing, whether that's our work relationships, home life, we're going to be happier. And so that pressure that we put on ourselves and others, it won't be there. It'll start to lift because we're actually becoming happier people.
Right.
When we do that, having an open mindset, we put our ego aside. So, we become more learners, things like that.
Mm-hmm. When people are setting their goals, I think they always, you said this earlier about, there are people who have the open mind, which means, I guess, that those are the type of people who do step into the challenge and say, okay, come what may, and let's see what happens, and then let's see how I can adjust. And then there are others who are just kind of waiting for the first big mistake in order to,
or hoping that there will never be a mistake.
Or hoping there won't be a mistake, right. And really, I think what people could do, something that I like to do, is I'll tell people, create the goal. What's the big, grandiose goal, right? Okay, now give me maybe one or two more. And a lot of people say, well, I want to lose weight. Well, I want to get out of pain because we help a lot of people in pain. Well, I want to be more athletic. And so whatever those goals are, then I'll say, okay, give me 5 sub-goals that will lead to that. Just because I want boxes to check. Mm-hmm. If we can have boxes to check, then you'll have a feeling of growth. That's a basic human need to have a feeling of growth and progress. Because it's the lack of that feeling that makes us feel stifled. And whenever we feel like we're just stagnant, that's when we'll start to say, well, what's all of this effort for now?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah.
I try so hard, and yet I don't really see the progress. But you probably, if you wrote those sub-goals in, you probably could have checked off 6, 7 boxes, right? Of the 15 or 20 sub-goals that you've already created for yourself to reach those others, the big ones.
Instead of, going and getting fast food 3 times today, I only did once.
Right.
Just the little things that add up. And also,
if that's the problem, because it is the
yeah,
problem, right?
that's the problem. What was I going to say? I was going to, become good at where you are right now. So like if you're in the very beginning and if you can only handle maybe doing 5 push-ups on your knees, become really good at that, and then the next stage, you're like, okay, maybe I'm going to do 5 push-ups without my knees. Become really good at that, even though if everyone else around you is doing deadlifts and hang cleans and all this stuff. Don't worry about that. Just become really good at the little things that you can grab onto right now. I really like that point. That's something that I'm working on right now. And I noticed that I'm becoming a lot more consistent in whatever it is I'm trying to do.
Right.
Because it's not overwhelming. And I'm actually becoming better at something. So then I'm like, hey, let's try this.
Yeah, I have my handball tournament coming up pretty soon. The World Championships of Handball are at the Stratosphere once a year, and it's the biggest tournament in racquetball and handball here in the Las Vegas area once a year. And we're about 2.5 months out. And when it comes down to me in my head, because I've always done the fighting thing in Muay Thai and all that, the last 2 to 3 months is like fight camp, getting ready for the fight. Mm-hmm. And so I get kind of hyper-focused, maybe even a little bit too much. But the reason why I bring this up is because I will try to put myself in as many shitty positions as I possibly can when playing handball and practicing, and I'm trying to think of all the scenarios that could be absolutely terrible for me, and then trying to train through those. And then when I'm getting in those, especially when I'm out actually, well, let's consider it sparring, right? Having my practice games, every time I lose a point or I don't hit a good shot or something like that, I try to, at least in my mind, step back for a second and say, what could I have done differently? And what can I do differently right now, right, into that next play?
Yeah.
And if people had that kind of state of mind when they're trying to make even dietary choices. I went out, half of my day was great. I got to work. I ate the breakfast I wanted to eat. I ate the lunch I wanted to eat. And then all of a sudden I get a phone call just before it was time to go home. And I got to stay at the office for another hour and a half. Now I'm going to get home. I'm not going to be able to prep the food I wanted to prep. I'm going to have to get something on the way home. I don't know what to get, and I'm all stressed out about it, and it's going to ruin my whole day. Okay? Instead of that, instead of letting that eat away at you for possibly days, it's a whole lot better off to just say, okay, now, what if I get called, and I got to stay late at work again? What can I do? What can I have prepared?
What's plan B?
Yeah, what's plan B? If you didn't have a plan B, now you just had an experience that will prepare you to prepare prepare a plan B.
Yeah. You've now dealt with your first data point.
Yeah, right. Your first data point. And you'll have a lot of those. And every time I lose a game or, I didn't make a play that I wanted to, it's the same type of mindset that I try to relate to our members here. Let's just say, hey, that's where you grow. And the worse it is, and the more difficult it is to deal with, the more growth is going to be there. And if you look at it that way, then you'll really have that feeling of progress through all the hard times.
Yeah, and you feel ready for when it hits. Yeah. If you're like, okay, here it comes, right. You feel ready. What I like about that is you're in control of the challenge already, even before it hits. Mm-hmm. And I think the more opportunity we have to be in control, the better, without becoming a control freak.
Right. There's a difference between being in control and being a control freak.
Because control freaks are going to lose their mind when something happens.
Right. The control freaks are just not prepared for things to not go their way. That's what a control freak is. So when it's more. The idea is based more around the word freak, okay? Because they freak out whenever things go that,
Cattywampus.
Yeah, unexpectedly. Cattywampus. Do people use words like that still? Okay.
I do.
Jen does. Okay.
I love that word.
Okay, cattywampus. But people who are in control, who are truly in control, are the ones that have a plan and are always ready to adjust. That's true control.
I I hear a lot of people coming in and they're saying, Jen, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep coming to the gym because my schedule changed. Mm-hmm. And I get that. I understand the predicament. But instead of halting your progress, be focused and don't let anything get in the way. So you might have to come to a 6 a.m. class. You might have to work out when it might not be too comfortable for you. Like I train at 6 a.m. Well, it's supposed to be 6 a.m. and then I get there at 7. I'm still working on that. But it's not my happy time to be up, But I had to adapt because of my work schedule here, and I have a family, and I just had to make it work. I said that I was going to be committed to this goal, and you have to stay focused and you have to do it. Whether, you just come to the gym at 6 a.m. one day a week or whatever, but don't let challenges stop you because you walked into the gym for a reason. You want to get better, you want to get healthier. So don't stop.
Yeah, don't ever use the term, I don't have time for X, Y, or Z. Change those words out with A, B, and C is not a priority for me right now. I will respect you a whole lot more because that's really what you're saying. The excuse of I don't have time to get to the gym. I don't have time to prepare my food. I don't have time to get enough sleep so that I can wake up as early as you think I could wake up. Whatever. Do not ever use the term I don't have time for. Because what you're really saying is it's not a priority for me right now. And if you at least admit that to yourself or say it out loud, it will allow you to rethink whether it really is a priority for you right now or not. Because if you're walking into the gym and everything around what you're saying is that you're miserable about your life, you're miserable with the way you look, you're miserable with how you feel, and I know that I got to work out, I know I have to change my diet, and then all of a sudden your work schedule changes and you're like, oh, I can't do this thing anymore, it's just a time thing. Really? Because the world was just about to end when you walked into my office.
Right.
And I'm not trying to pick on anybody here, but this happens all the time. People have this undying need to make a change because they can't stand the way that they live, the way that they look, the way that they feel. And then, even though they have so much emotion around it, the convenience of having a day that's predictable all of a sudden gets in the way of these massive goals and all of this discontent.
Yeah.
It shouldn't make sense to you. It shouldn't make sense to you. So whenever you say something like, I don't have time to get down to the gym, or I don't have time to do something, just remember what you're really saying is it's not a priority for you right now. And then you can question that.
Yeah. Well, it's something I like to talk to the clients about when they say something like that. And I use it for myself as well. When they say, oh, you know what, I can't do that. I can't make that time. I can't take 15 minutes to prep a couple meals.
And Jen punches him in the face.
I punch him in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, you know what, you really can, because if your doctor said, okay, you're dying, however, you could live your normal, lifespan if you were to take 10 to 15 minutes out of your day and take this medicine. You had to pop this pill and wait 10 minutes. I bet you anything you would do it. And that's what I have to tell myself. I'm like, okay, if this was, when there's something I really don't want to do, I'm like, okay, if this was life or death, would I do it? Yes, I would do it. And that might sound a little extreme, but in the beginning, you might have to paint that picture for yourself.
Right.
Because you really would, and you can take 10 to 15 minutes a day to food prep, or you can take, a Sunday and just for an hour food prep. So for like 3 or 4 days, so you could be successful,
It really falls underneath what a person's needs are. Because sometimes people will say, well, can you really help somebody make a change who doesn't want to make change? And it has more to do with that person's state of mind in terms of what they really feel is important to them, what they really value. Like, for instance, people can be very, very honest people, right? But they'll tell little white lies, regardless, they're still lies, because the lie is to protect, making somebody else feel bad, right? Because they have a stronger need to not make their friends feel bad than they do to speak the truth, right? Mm-hmm. So when it comes to being in the gym, or when it comes to doing, meal prep and, cutting things out of your diet that you really liked, right? Then when people start to go against, all of these things that they know are good for them, that's when I start to ask the questions to try to figure out what exactly does this person really need, and then how can I make the training and all of the effort put toward your trying to make this change make sense in accordance with that person's needs. So the conversations, I ask a lot of questions when I sit down in front of people, and that's why we always tell you guys, ask yourself questions like these. Do I really not have time for it, or is it not a priority? What's the most important to me? What are the things that I really need, right, to be authentic in the way that I am, so that I can make these changes relate to the life that I want to have?
Yeah. I like that. That's good.
Well, let's talk a little bit about excuses, the common excuses that we get. The not enough time, it's a big thing. Not being on the schedule.
I hate food tracking, food journaling. I hear that a lot.
Right. Yeah, food tracking is something that is really necessary.
It is so necessary. And I hate to say that because it's such a huge trial for people. It's a pain for me too, but...
it doesn't take as much time as you think.
No, it really doesn't, especially when you get one that you can do on the phone, Mm-hmm. Also, that's another mindset thing, because if you're focused with your goal, I notice I'm not a fan of food tracking, but when I'm like, okay, I narrow in, I have that eye of the tiger focus of like this. We're doing this. I find it fun to food track, and I'm like, I got, 32 grams of protein in, or whatever,
Well, there's a purpose. When Jen logs her food, she's looking for specific things.
I have a target. Yeah, I have a target. And when I see myself getting closer to that target, it's like a reward.
And you have a feeling of
accomplishment. Growth, yes.
Accomplishment, which is exactly... We get people who will journal all the time, and they'll never fully try to grasp why they're journaling, other than, I got to show this shit to Peter and Jen, right? So what I mean, a lot of the journaling consults or nutrition consults that I've had about journaling, trying to get people to journal, I'm trying to actually say, okay, look, if we can do this and get your food consumption and protein, fat, sugar consumption to look like this, X, Y, and Z, then we can probably get the results that you want to get, okay? But again, let's get there and see how your body reacts. Now the journaling becomes more about getting there. How do I make it look the way that Peter says I want it to look? And then we'll see if that works.
Yeah.
That, without even having any guarantee that it's going to work, is going to be easier to follow, because you have an objective.
Yeah.
You can't just journal without an objective other than to just see what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, and remember, food journaling, it's not a forever thing. It's just a get you there thing. You just slightly touched on it. So it's not a forever thing. You only need like maybe 3 to 4 months, depending on what your issues are, and then you kind of have an idea of what works for you and what
and not
doesn't.
Even 3 to 4 months every day.
Yeah, not even every day. 3 days a week, 4 days a week. It depends on what you're trying to work on. But I used to sugarcoat it with people, and I used to like dance around the topic, and now I'm like, no, you just really need to food track, because that you will get your results so much faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because again,
to
be honest, people will say to me all the time, I'm already eating all the things that you want me to eat. There's so much more to it, at least at the beginning, to really learn and grasp the concept of what this whole diet thing is. Hey, again, we follow the concepts and all of the writings and the multiple books and articles of Dr. Ray Peat, who focuses on cellular function, on cellular physiology in respect to food and nutrition, right? So what Ray talks about is really difficult to try to just read on your own and figure it all out.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been at this now probably working with Ray's work about 7 or 8 years. And it's just this constant evolution of, finding out what works and, taking some of Ray's tips, so to speak, and applying them with different people and applying them on myself and seeing what happens. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, though it seems like this big grandiose thing, right, there are steps that you can take. And generally we say, let's journal first and see what you eat like, right? Then let's try to play with macronutrient ratios, protein, fat, and sugar. Okay. Then if things are still kind of acting wonky, then we got to start looking at your micronutrients, right? The vitamins and the minerals and enzymes, things like that. And now, at that point, we can say, okay, once we get things under control and your heart rate and temps come up and you're feeling better and you're not sick all the time and your hair stopped falling out and you may have lost a couple pounds and maybe your sleep is a lot better, you're out of pain, now we can say, okay, well, what do you want to do? Right?
No, yeah,
You want to get really lean? Okay, sweet. You want to hop into a sport? Okay, sweet. But
you gotta build that foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's another excuse?
Yeah. Another excuse, let's see. I think another excuse that people, at least it's worth touching on, is people say, well, I can't afford training. There are so many resources out there. It's like saying, I didn't have the resources to do what I wanted to do. Okay? Let's just take it out of the whole world of personal training here for a second. If your excuse for not getting fit or getting healthy is, well, I didn't have the resources to get the coach I needed or to get to the gym as often as I could, what you're really saying is you just weren't resourceful enough. I mean, I know people who don't have or never even have had gym memberships, but they read and they pick up magazines and they screw stuff up a lot and they get themselves sick and they break themselves, but they never stop going at it until they really figure out what works for them.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of stick to it. And then when they're not really feeling it anymore, they start looking for other things, and that's okay. One thing is not going to work forever. You'll always have to continue to find variety so that your body stays sharp and your mind stays sharp.
Yeah, I think about, how I used to train like 5 years ago is complete opposite of what I do now. Mm-hmm. Training, how I eat. In fact, I just changed. Today's my first day of restructuring the way I eat now. Mm-hmm. Today's
Jen
my first day.
An avid jogger, runner, vegan type back in the day, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
I was very much the high endurance, the cardio.
Right.
I was in barroom dancing and stereotypical woman nowadays, I was a typical woman, it was all about running, Stairmaster.
I think the people are going to have something to say about that, Jen. Okay.
I was, like we've talked about before, I was trying to eat as little calories as possible.
Right.
Now,
you burn as many calories as possible, right?
Yeah, and then today, my goal is don't follow this because this is just a test thing, but today is my first day of seeing how many carbs I can eat throughout the day. There's more information around that. It's not as black and white as that, but it's different. This is different how I've been eating just the past 2 years. So, and I'm going to make mistakes.
Right. Or at least see how your body...
Data points.
Right, or at least see how your body reacts to it all, right?
Yeah, it might not work, and so then I'll just go back to what did work. I
was very similar, where I would try to outwork my calorie consumption and try to stay lean because I was fighting at 165 to 175 pounds. It was years of that. I mean, honestly, I remember my I take that back. My senior year in high school, I was captain of the wrestling team. And so I really wanted to make sure that I led by example. And so within 2 weeks, I lost 22 pounds.
That's like you're dying.
I was dying.
22 pounds.
I was dying. What I did is I woke up in the morning and I would have like one egg.
How old were you?
And a glass of water. I was 17,
Oh my God,
18.
an egg and water?
Yeah, so I'd have like one egg and a glass of water. And then I would get to school, and then I would have a salad with a little bit of that, cheese, shredded cheese on it, and a tiny, tiny bit of dressing, and a glass of water. And then I would go to wrestling. Then I would come home and I would eat dinner, and that dinner would be like a very small piece of meat, usually chicken, and maybe a vegetable, and then another glass of water, and then I would go for a jog, and then I would go to bed.
Wow.
And I did that for 2 weeks straight. And my first match, I got my head kicked in. I mean, well, there's no punching and kicking in wrestling, but I mean, I had nothing. I was actually even an emotional mess. I was probably so estrogenic at the time that, I mean, I practically broke out into tears afterward, if I recall.
It's not funny, but it's...
Yeah, and
I picture
it was. I really was.
A 16-year-old girl.
I don't cry. Yeah. No, but no, it was really bad. In fact, I remember I had another episode like that in college where our team was going to face off against West Point. And West Point, I mean, they had a really good wrestling team. I was actually very excited for the meet, and a friend of mine had been shot and killed just the day before, right? So I didn't cut weight well. I didn't, I went there the next day to the meet, and I told my coach, I was like, you know what, I'm not going to be able to compete today. I just don't think I can. And he was like, Pete, we need you. And I was like, okay, well, he wasn't taking no for an answer. I was 6 pounds overweight. I had to cut 6 pounds in about an hour and a half. And on a bike, and I mean, doing whatever I could, stationary bike, I had the bags on, you name it. I dropped about 4.5 pounds. And still didn't make weight. So I'm like, all right, at least I'm out of this. And the coach still said, we need you, Pete. We're going to put you in anyway. So I'm not entirely sure why that went down. But I went in there, and I'm talking, this guy felt like the strongest I felt like he could have taken iron and bent it with his hands. He was just so strong. But I was a wet noodle. I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing. So, man, I remember after that all happened, I just like broke down. I had nothing left in me.
Yeah.
My messing my body up dates way back. Dates way back to high school days, college days, and then all the way up to I was about 28, 29. I tried low carbonate, overworking, under-eating, sweatsuits, you name it. And that's kind of what, finally, when I found Ray's work and working and testing it out, it took me years to really figure it out.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of issues, a lot of issues, changing my diet, never mind just dealing with all the other problems of the old ways of doing things. But I've kind of felt like I found a sweet spot. And when I do want to make changes, then I can do so, for whatever my goals are. So
what was it, going along with what we're talking about, what was it that, because you were so extreme and so focused in a high protein, low carb way, it must have been difficult for you to shift? There were so many things that I would think of when I was shifting over into eating a lot of fruit, a lot of sugars and things like that. Honestly, one of the things was my teeth. Mm. I had terrible cavities. I remember when I was right in the middle of fighting, I probably went to the dentist just for a checkup. It wasn't anything like a cavity or anything like that or tooth pain. I just went to the dentist for a checkup. And I hadn't been for a few years, but I was working out, training, and there was no sugar in my diet practically.
and I had, I think, 11 or 13 cavities.
Oh, snap.
And so when I started getting into more of this repeat way of eating and having a lot of fruit, adding table sugar to things, possibly having a Coke here and there, whatever, then, I was like, well, okay, I can see physiologically now how this is going to work, but what about my teeth? And I've actually had way less teeth problems now, having more sugar in my diet, but just also making sure that I'm having enough calcium, K2, etc.
Everything else.
Yeah. So there's a lot of studying, anatomy and physiology in order to try to grasp all of the things that Ray talks about. And that's why most people can't hang in a conversation when we start talking about these things, not because they're stupid, but because it can get a little bit more in depth than just, well, it's going to make you feel better, or it's going to make you poop when you're constipated. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you oversimplify things, then people will never truly care to try to make the change with this style of diet.
Right.
Because everything else they're told is just like, it's the devil. Right?
Yeah.
What does sugar really do to you? Well, all I know is it has the same effect on my brain as cocaine does. Rots my teeth away, and it makes cancer. Right? Because that's just what people say about sugar.
Yeah.
Right? There's no explanation behind any of that. That's just what they're told.
Yeah. Which is, you probably had that same mindset before.
Of course.
So, but what
I read this thing, Jen, right? And I can't remember all of them, but it was by Paul Chek, and he called it the 5 white devils that you should never eat. I kid you not, it's a thing. You can check it out. You can go Google it. I don't know. But it was like, flour, sugar. I can't remember.
One of it, or?
Maybe rice, yeah. But they were all, white foods that generally he would say, he called them white devils.
Devils.
So they obviously are
he
trying to drag you down into hell. Yeah.
I know. I mean, I can't tell you the dirty looks I get when I go to Starbucks and I'm putting white sugar in my coffee, and I have like some type of like health, fitness shirt on, and they're like,
just today we went to Starbucks and they're like, hey, we got the unsweetened stuff too.
I know the unsweetened syrup.
Yeah.
But I like that.
Why the hell would I want it unsweetened? I want it sweet.
I want it sweet.
Yep.
No, but I like why I like the fact that you told that story, because, like everyone else, like our clients, they look at our meal plan and they're like, that's not what we've been taught. But because your why became big enough for you to change. Because I'm pretty sure you were pretty hardcore and hell-bent on not eating sugar and doing some of the stuff.
And I also had to face the fact that there are people that I have trained, family members, who've been listening to me for years.
Oh, that sucks.
And then I go from paleo queen to...
Carb queen.
Yeah, the carb queen. Not a queen, Jen. Why would you call me that? Right? But yeah, I mean, so...
It sucks.
Yeah, being carb king has not been an easy path. Especially, I'll run into people who I haven't seen in years, and they're like, oh, so what are you doing now? And I try to explain what I'm doing, and they're like, you are a hypocrite.
Yes.
Everything that you told me 7 years ago.
Lies.
They were lies, yeah. But I cannot, in my own mind and heart, go back to putting people on low-carb diets, which I know obviously get them to lose weight really fast, when I know what they're doing to their body. I couldn't do it. I honestly, another big thing, right? Me trying to make the change, and I started to realize, wow, there's so much good that we can do in the world by helping people change their diet in this fashion. And I know I sound like the vegan cult, but right? But really, there's just too much science behind this, and it's hard to poke holes in it. It really is. Whereas all these other types of diets, there are explanations why they don't work, even though there's tons of explanations why they do. So anyway, what I'm getting to here is telling people that I'm making this switch was difficult, especially because I'm trying to run a business. Right? If people want to train with me and they hear about this diet, I've had people come in and say, hey, can I take a look at the diet? Say, I don't eat foods on that food list, so like I'm done. They're like, I don't eat carrots. I'm like, well, you don't have to. You know, there's mushrooms, there's bamboo shoots. They have the same types of reactions in the gut. I don't eat shrimp. You don't have to eat shrimp. But they'll look at it and they'll say, oh, like fruits and sugars. I'm not going to be able to lose weight on that. Okay, well, first of all, if that's the main goal, fine. Okay, let's put that out there. But then let's talk about the ways that we can help you lose weight that don't involve dragging your metabolism down into the mud. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And so, honestly, it was a struggle to where I had to stay true to what I really believed in, because I very easily could have gone back to quietly giving people low carb, high protein, high fat diets where they would see fat loss right away, and then when they got fat, I could be like, your fault, and you need more training, because that's the fitness room.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it anymore. Steal people's money and push them toward cancer and MS and Parkinson's or whatever else. I just couldn't. Yeah.
So I have another question for you.
Okay.
So recently you've been starting to train again, especially for your handball tournament. So a common issue right now with some of our clients is their work schedule. They're exhausted, and then they have to go train. Either whether it's recommended to do that early in the morning or at night because of the work schedule. You're starting to train again. So what are you telling yourself in your head? I know you're tired and you want to go home. What are you telling yourself to get you to keep working out?
I try to pay attention to my body as much as possible. If I feel tired and I planned on lifting, then I might say, you know what, I need the sleep right now. The recovery sometimes is just as important as the work. Right?
But the days that you do work out?
Yeah. The days that I do work out, right now I'm working out Monday, Wednesday, Friday I lift. Tuesday and Thursday I will play handball games. And then, Saturday, Sunday I'll usually rest or play a little bit of handball or just go to the court and drill one of those days. But I always try to make sure that I'm getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Right? On bad nights, it's 7 hours. On better nights, it's 8 to 9. I try to keep myself from getting hungry. So, lots of milk, lots of orange juice, lots of coffee, amongst having eggs, shrimp, meat, collagen. I love mushrooms. I was really happy to hear all the research around that. And I kind of keep it simple to that, and I have some cheese here and there too. Getting lighter coming up for the handball tournament. Just trying to trim out as much fat out of the diet as possible, but allowing for as much room as I need to carbohydrate-wise. And I actually do feel great. I don't feel like I lack energy, even though I'm training 5-6 days a week. I will have a day where I feel crappy, and I'll just call it a day. Because practicing bad reps should not be part of any training program. Yeah. If you're having a bad day and you keep pushing forward through it, or if you're going to go in and you're going to do much lighter weight or whatever, yes, if you have the energy, you should go and make the attempt to get in your reps. But if you don't have the energy and you know those reps are going to be bad, then it's not worth doing them. You're better off recovering.
So mentally, how do you prepare yourself? When that voice in your head, when you actually have the energy to go train, but you just kind of don't want to, and you have that voice in your head saying, God, it would be so much fun to go and hang out with a friend or whatever. What are you telling yourself that keeps you?
I remind myself of the outcome, and I remind myself of the growth that is gained during the difficult times of not wanting to do something. Or, I'll be in a game, right? And I'm getting crushed. And I'll say to myself, I'm really tired. I'm winded. Man, I should be in better shape. I should have more endurance or whatever. I should be making better decisions on the court. I'm also saying to myself, this is where the growth, I have to stop that language for a second And I say this is where the growth is made. When you're in the opportunity right at that moment where you're, let's say, you want to work out, or you plan to work out, and then you get to the end of your day when you said you were going to work out, and you're like, I don't want to do this, I'll just go home, right? I try to remind myself in that moment, whenever I feel like I don't want to do something, is the time to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I'll sit there and evaluate if I really have the energy to do it, or I might even start and say, man, this, you know what, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's a drill or whether it's trying to hype myself up with music or whether it's something I'm trying to eat to try to give myself energy, if it's just not working, it's not working,
Yeah.
But I try to remind myself that the things that I don't want to do, even when I'm working out, I'll say, like, I'm going to do 4 sets. I'll get to the 3rd set and not want to do the 4th set at all. And because I don't want to do it, I tell myself that's when I do 1 more set. Sometimes I'll go into a workout and say, I'm going to do as many sets of 5 as I can of this lift. And then I'll get to set 6 and be like, I don't want to do another one. That's my cue to do another one. I know, it is. It's in my head. I do the same thing with clients all the time. They'll say, I can't do it. I can't do another one. I can't do another one. We just did 2 or 3 sets of something. Can't do it. And I'll say, this is the time to do it then. When you don't want to do it, you do it again. You do 1 more. Just do 1 more. And it's just kind of a way of getting your brain and body to do what you say you're going to do. If I say I'm going to do it, then I'm going to force it when I don't.
Yeah.
1 time. Yeah. Not like keep crushing it for another 30 minutes, but
you can do 1 more set.
Yeah, just do another set. Do it and prove to yourself that you can. After you just said you can't.
Just do another one.
Mm-hmm.
I like that because just lately, there were just some of the conversations or some of the statements that some of the clients have been saying. It just worried me, concerned me that I just wanted to address it. Because they were legitimate concerns. My work schedule's changing. I'm tired, or God, I don't feel like working out today. And I wanted to do a video about mindset and having an open mind and be excited about change and being willing to do like 1 more set or, So I think that was good.
Yeah.
Hopefully it helped you guys.
Oh. Well, I think we can cap it off there, Jen.
Oh, very good.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it.
Yeah. And you know what? Tell us a little bit. I know this was a long one, so if you got to this point, I'd love to hear some of the goals that you have. And maybe the one reason why you feel, or the most difficult reason that always gets in your way as to why you can't do it. And, maybe we could give our input back if you'd like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's call it a day, Jen.
All right.
Hopefully, we've left you today with some heavy thoughts. I'm Peter Pinto.
I'm Jennifer Davis.
We'll see you guys next week.